And now you are good to go.
Okay, hi, this is Greg Logan, Vice Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We're going to start the Town of Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting, Wednesday, November 30th, 2021 at 7:02 p.m. This will be held remotely. This meeting will be held remotely with no physical meeting location. Those seeking to provide public input should do using the method listed below. Video and audio of the meeting will be aired on Comcast Local TV 9 at a later date. Live recording of the meeting will be available on the Town of Dayton YouTube channel, which can be accessed using this link, www.youtube.com/channel/T-O-P-A-V13C1-J0GRGOFU33Q. Public input may be provided using the following method. Contact the office at Kerry Easterday at KEASTERDAY at Dayton Dayton/mass.gov. Use email subject line ZBA 11-30-2021 public input and include your name and address for the record. Or you may be able to call 508-669-6431 extension 114 during the meeting. Leave a voicemail if necessary. Join Zoom meeting www.zoom.com or dial by your location 646-558-8656. Use meeting ID code number 939-1182. 4424 with the passcode of 5102277. So I'm going to call the order, the Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to, in lieu of the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to give a moment of silence. Okay, I'd like to confirm the next meeting date with the zoning board members. As I was talking with Kerry earlier, we don't really have anything on the agenda as we speak. I'm not sure if something shall come up, but we do have Christmas, we do have New Year's that week, and I know a lot of people are gone or celebrating a holiday. I just wanted to feel out what we had, but dates available.
I'm open to anything.
Okay. I know when I was talking with Susan, she's leaving from the 11th, and she's not due back until I think she said the 14th or the 17th. I think it was the 17th.
That night.
Yeah,
Do we know when will Zach be available?
not sure. But we have nothing on the agenda as we speak. And if you look at the calendar, that takes 4 weeks for something to go into the office before it will be heard at the ZBA level at us. And that puts us at the week of Christmas.
I would say, this is Jonathan, unless something from this evening's meeting needs to be continued to December, that we go until January.
Do I have a second on that matter?
I'll second that.
Okay. So do you guys want to do this? Do you want to set a date in January, the first week of January, or would you rather wait until Kerry says, hey, we've got something coming in, and then we do it via, I don't know if we have to do it on the meeting, or can we do it through an email?
We don't have to have the meeting determined for the next meeting. The only reason why we would do it is if, like Jonathan said, if we're going to continue something, but if that's the case, we will have to set the meeting tonight. If not, we can do it through an email. There's
Okay,
nothing
so
saying, there's no law that says you have to have the next meeting scheduled right now.
All right, so if one of our hearings gets continued, that's when we'll set it.
Right.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Everybody else okay with that?
Yep, I am.
That works.
So we're gonna do business, public hearing, continue the variance application for Rita A. Arujo and Thomas W. Arujo, 0-1423 William Street, M12, L30 and 30-4, case number 0321. And I believe Kerry had got an email in regards to this, that they would like to withdraw without prejudice.
I did, and you're gonna have to bear with me because I am working from home today and I am not used to my computer. And it's not allowing me to share the email, so I'm gonna read it into record, if you don't mind.
Yep.
From Attorney Brown, so let me just pull that up. Dear Miss Easterday, as you know, I represent the petitioner regarding the variance request for 1423 William Street. On behalf of my client, I respectfully request that we be allowed to withdraw this petition without prejudice. Please confirm your receipt of this email. Thank you, Attorney Bill Rounds, 115 Broadway, Taunton, Mass. 02780. And he sent that to my email today at 1:59.
I'll accept his termination of withdrawal without prejudice. Okay, so the next case on the matter is variance application.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Jonathan. I'm going to make a motion that we accept the letter of withdrawal without prejudice for the Arroyo property. I can't see the address in
Yeah.
front of me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Jonathan, I.
Susan Pritchard, aye.
Peter, I.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So now the next matter of business is the variance application. Oh, before we go any further,
Yeah.
was Zach a member, voting member on this particular application? Do we need to go ahead and appoint another member, seeing as Zach's not here? Anybody?
Right,
need
I
to be
believe that
signed?
he was a voting member.
Yes, he
He
was.
was, yes, he was.
Okay, so before we go and get into that, who was the voting members? Anybody know?
Peter,
Myself,
sorry.
go
Peter,
ahead.
Zach, and you.
Yeah.
And myself. Okay, so we need to get another voting member for in lieu of Zach.
So Susan, for that last vote, we can redo it, and I'll redo my motion, and I would ask that you be the third voting member, please.
Okay,
So redoing that motion, my motion is that we accept the letter from council with regard to withdrawing the request without prejudice for the Arroyo property. Again, I can't see the address.
1423 William Street.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And now the variance application is now going to be held with Peter, Susan, and Greg as well for the
That is
application for Binder Estates on Brook Street.
Correct.
Yes,
All righty. Okay. So business variance application, Binder Estates LLC, 0 Brook Street, M17 L160-1, case number 0421. Review and discuss. Is the applicant on with us today?
Present.
Does any of the voting members, before we go into this, have any questions or comments from the last meeting in regards to this? Just before we hand it over to the applicant? Any questions? or
I don't.
concerns?
no,
not yet.
Zach, okay, so Susan, no. Okay, the applicant has the floor.
Thank you.
There you
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Attorney Brianna Kerr on behalf of my client Binda Estate LLC, who owns the property parcel 17160-1 on Brook Street. Just as a brief summation of our filings and presentation at the last hearing, we are respectfully requesting a variance for frontage. The parcel consists of 5.6 acres, and it has 169.66 feet of frontage as opposed to the 250 feet required. We meet all other zoning requirements with the exception of the frontage. As previously explained, we have a hardship relative to the shape and topography of the lot with the elevated wetlands where the frontage is. The elevated wetlands also made it impracticable to meet stormwater standards for a subdivision when the client and engineers were originally exploring trying to create frontage for a 4-lot subdivision. Our proposal here tonight is for a single family home proposed on the 5.6 acres of land, which we believe would fit well here. Without the variance, arguably my client would not be able to utilize this 5.6 acres of land. Our lot would have more frontage than several of the surrounding properties here. I believe 5 of the developed lots here have less than what we are proposing for frontage. And at least 14 of the developed lots have less than the 250 feet required. As you may recall at the last hearing, there were some concerns raised about potential archaeological digging and historical preservation. Although those concerns are arguably out of the scope for our request for a variance for frontage, we did take the liberty to look into those concerns, and I did submit some documentation to our findings. First, we submitted the notice that my client had received for the September 2020 agenda with the conservation hearing, and the agenda for that, I guess there was a New England Power Company line refurbishment project, which is for a transmission line passing through Dayton. They received an order of conditions that night. It's my understanding that project spans over 40 acres of land or so, and is expected to start in Dayton next spring. The company is currently going through the Army Corps permitting process. They also, part of their due diligence requires them to hire third-party consultants, which includes archaeological consultants, to perform site reviews, but we have not received any notification or documentation to suggest that there are any concerns there with those reviews that are going on. We aren't privy to any issues that they're coming into with that project. The last conversation I had with them is that they are expected to start in the spring for Dayton. There also was a second conservation project specifically related to Brook Street, and that was a December RDA conservation filing that I did provide the board a copy of. That was the Mass Electric Company RDA, which was approved for installation of new poles along Brook Street. I spoke with the BSC group who submitted that proposal. I received written confirmation from James Rhines, who was an environmental scientist with National Grid on that project. He confirmed that that was completed and there were no archaeological concerns or consultants that were hired for that project. So I did provide the board with that confirmation in writing. Lastly, we did contact the chair of the Dayton Historical Commission, Miss Patricia Gales, and I inquired with her whether any filings would be required or necessary for the vacant parcel of 160-1 on Brook Street. She confirmed, and I believe her email was also CC'd to Kerry, just confirming that no local historic district bylaws for this area, which would require us to go through the Dayton Historical Commission. So we confirmed we do not have to apply with them for this vacant parcel. Lastly, the project engineers also have been in communication with the Dayton Fire Chief regarding emergency department access. And I believe Tracy can speak a little bit more to that and the accommodations that we have made to provide the emergency access here.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. You have the floor.
Thanks. Just for the record, Tracy Dewar of MBL Land Development, civil engineer for the project. We spoke with Chief Magai from the fire department for this project, and we provided him an updated plan, which he was fine with, which showed still the 12-foot wide paved driveway, but we have 4-foot cleared maintained access on either side, so it can be grass as long as it's cleared. And then a turnaround at the end by the house. And he reviewed the plan and is okay with it. And that revised plan has been submitted to you as well.
Okay, Kerry, so we have all this information that she had stated from James Ryan. He sent that letter in to us, and from the consul, and Patricia Gale, obviously you CC'd all that stuff to us as well.
Yes, we do have that. And again, forgive me, I would do it on the share screen, but for whatever reason, my home computer's not cooperating with me. I don't know if Attorney Correa would be able to do it. If I can, she might be able to flip through it if I can.
One moment, let me just see if I can get that up.
And then maybe I have to make you a host. So let me
Okay, one second.
make you a co-host, and then she might be able to flip through it for you. But I can confirm that I did receive all the information, both
Okay,
from Patricia
fire chief and everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I can share that if you want me to share the screen.
Sure. I did. I made you co-host, so you should be good to go.
Okay, so let's see here. So can you see that?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so that was the letter that I submitted to the board with some exhibits. We have the public meeting minutes from the September 2020 showing that the order of conditions was given to the New England Power Company. We also have, this is the RDA that was submitted for the Massachusetts Electric Company in December for the Brook Street project. And that goes a couple of pages just describing their installation of the poles. And then I also submitted, these are the emails from the BSC group regarding the work in Brook Street. And this is James Ryan's email, which states that to his knowledge, there were no cultural issues that were encountered during the construction for that project, and they did not retain an archaeological consultant as it was not required. I think that was the end of that. I also have, I believe, let me see. I should have a copy of, actually, I don't have a copy that I'm able to. Let me see if I can pull it up in my email. 1 second. Because I can show you, if you would like, Mr. Chairman, I can show you the email from the fire chief as well.
If Kerry has it, we're
Okay.
okay, as long as we have a copy of it, I'm okay with that.
Oh, okay, great.
I
Thank
believe
you.
those were some of the concerns that the board had had. So are you guys all set now?
Yes.
All right, has any any board members have any questions or concerns on this matter?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Peter.
Can you tell me how this lot was created in, I understand why you say there's a hardship on the lot, but who put the hardship there?
I'm sorry?
What was this lot before? In other words, somebody created this lot with insufficient frontage to do anything with, and I want to know why. Did we give them relief before for frontage, or did somebody take 250 feet to create a lot and then left this short intentionally?
It's my understanding that there was a Form A approval or approval under subdivision control law not required that was done. I can't see when that was done, but actually 2001, it looks like that they separated the lots. And at that time, the zoning requirements stated that 175 feet of frontage was required. So it was just shy of 4 feet or so and change, or 5 feet or so and change for frontage at that time.
And how many lots were created in 2001?
2
What was it turned into?
to 2. The lot that's in front that has frontage on Brook Street, and then my client's parcel.
So, in other words, a profit is being made to sell this lot with insufficient frontage when they created their own hardship by doing this.
The previous owners, I mean, I can't speak to the profit or anything that was made, but that was before my client had owned this property many years ago. And I believe they may have owned both properties, I'm not sure. But that was in 2001. So I don't think my client really has any knowledge of the process that was taken at that time.
How long has your client owned this property?
Mike, when did you purchase this property?
Last January.
Okay.
And why would you buy it if it wasn't buildable?
I was trying to perform a small subdivision where it would be in compliance, but we ran into some engineering issues, so that that route wasn't viable.
I believe it was the elevated wetlands in the front of the property that made it so that meeting the stormwater standards for a subdivision would be impracticable. We were trying to create frontage to get around the lack of frontage here, and we weren't able to do so.
Okay. All right, I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No voting members have any other questions?
No, I don't.
I would just ask the other members who have the visual with regard to the turnaround at the end of the driveway by the house.
Yeah, according to the fire chief, he sent a letter with the design that they submitted saying that was acceptable. I have not seen what it is, but according to what the attorney is stating, that they have that letter, and so doesn't Kerry.
Okay, thank you.
I do have the plan available if you'd like me to share my screen to show that plan that was submitted to the board as well as to the fire chief.
Okay.
Would you like me to share that?
I
It's up to
would,
you,
yeah.
John. Yep.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, let me see. Okay.
Yeah, Jonathan, they have a large area for a turnaround at the top near the house.
I didn't know if you or Peter were able to see a plan or not, so I'm glad she's able to share it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's rather large for the area of the turnoff for the fire truck, or any kind of apparatus that would need to turn.
Okay,
It's on the drawing.
all right.
Any other members of the board? And nobody else? Any public input on this matter? Carrie, do you see anyone else on there trying to wave themselves in?
I am looking to see if anyone from the public is looking to participate.
Hi, good evening, Morris Joyce.
There you go.
Thank
There
you.
we go. We have-
With the plan up, I could not access the unmute button.
For the record, could you tell me your name and where you live?
Morris Joyce, MAURICE JOYCE, 399 Brook Street. I'm a direct abutter to the project.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I'm glad they have done preliminary investigation into the historic and archaeological sensitivity of the lots. I think they've done preliminary work. I have a couple of questions concerning the creation of the two lots. Originally, that one lot was owned by Fannie Lima, and they sold off the house, leaving a piece of vacant land beside it, which is the subject of this appeal. And for whatever reason, they left it shot. I don't know whether they needed the extra land to get a sale on the house, or what the story was, but they created their own nightmare. Secondly, I question the use of land that is an easement for frontage. In other words, the land that they're using for frontage is the land where National Grid goes across. And somewhere in the back of my mind, there is a question as to whether or not you can use land which is an easement for frontage. Attorney Correa may be able to speak to that issue.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to address
Yes,
that?
I'm sorry. I was writing
That's
down
okay.
some things. Yes.
Okay, I believe in speaking with the engineers that we will need to file and work with National Grid due to the easement there. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy and Brian, but we're aware of that. There isn't anything that we're aware of that prohibits us from using that frontage or anything to that extent. It's just working with them and filing with them to make sure that we do everything appropriately, which we don't seem to have an issue with.
You're not building any structure and putting anything on the easement. You're just going across the easement, correct? Using it as an entrance.
Correct.
We are.
That's correct.
And National Grid provided us a list of their prohibited items, so we made sure we kept the house and steps and everything outside of it.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, Brian Dunn for the record with MBL Land Development and Permitting. And in my 35 years of doing this, I've never heard the length of an easement or the width of an easement being subtracted from any type of frontage requirement on any lot. Easements are separate on top of the lot and are not subject to taking away frontage or removing of distance along a constructed way.
But where it's a public purpose easement, i.e. in a utility easement, I think there's, and the case law escapes me, but I think there's a case on it. That may be something that Attorney Correa might want to investigate.
I'm not aware of that
Uh,
case law, but the case law surrounding easements just allows the utility company to use that land for their purposes, but it does not give them a right in it. It's the property owner's property. So they, they don't own the property. They just have a right to use it for their utility purposes. And I also have never seen anything where an easement would take away from frontage for that type of purpose. But I mean, like I mentioned, we will be working with National Grid just to make sure that we don't have anything that would disrupt their use of that property for their utility purposes, which we do not have an issue with.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you say you'll be working with National Grid. Have you had any contact beyond peripheral contact with them concerning this project?
I believe Tracy just had mentioned that she spoke with National Grid and they gave them a list of the areas that we need to abide by and what's allowed there. So
Yes,
she has been in
She
direct
did,
communication.
she did say that.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
So Morris, Joyce, are you for or against for the petition?
I am against the petitioner, not that I begrudge any developer the right to build. I think there are too many problems with the lot. And I am strongly opposed to the construction of a house under a power line of that nature. It's not like there was a 220 running up there. That's considerably more power. And that type of power line does give off some sort of a radiation that would not be beneficial for the inhabitant of the home.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public input? All right, I'm going to go back to members of the board. I have a question. I'm listening to a few things that was brought up. You had said 250 feet of frontage now. A friend of mine lives directly across the street from this piece of property. There is water running by that road. Am I correct?
I believe there is, but we've been working, Tracy, if you want to answer that, but we've been working with
Sorry, it took me a
Somerset.
minute to unmute. We've
That's
been
okay.
talking to Somerset Water and we will
Yes.
have the ability to tie into that.
Yeah, because that's what he did. He had a well and he tied in. And this question might be for Pete. I'm not sure because I'm not familiar with it, but I believe if Somerset has the water running by the road, that's why in 2001 they were able to bring it down to 175 feet of frontage versus 250 feet. Would that be correct, Pete?
Correct.
Okay.
They only
So-
need it 175 right now.
Right, and right now,
Not a variance from 250.
right, and you're at 166 feet right now, you're stating?
I believe 166.9, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
169.66.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
5.34 feet.
5.3. Okay,
Thank you.
I'm all set. All right, so
Well, I
any
don't have an
other
issue with approving it.
for the frontage?
For the frontage, I mean, it's just short, just a few feet. As far as the power lines go in an easement, when you are looking for frontage, you count the easement. That's part of their property, regardless of the fact that they've let the power company or whoever need it for an easement. So you can't subtract that and say that they're 25 feet less than what they have, or whatever the easement width is. But I, as a driving through that neighborhood, it's not going to be a detriment to the neighborhood. There are a lot of houses on that street now that only have 175 feet of frontage that I don't think it's going to change the character of the neighborhood that much.
No, and as for the house being built under the power lines, they did the same house up on Center Street. Not that I'm saying it's good for the person that lives there. On Center Street, there's a house directly under the high tension lines.
Right, that's the choice that they make.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. So, all right, so all members are all set. They've heard everything. We've had all the public input on this matter. So do you want to make a motion? If anybody want to make
So I
a
would make a
motion?
motion to approve this with the variance, approve the variance with the short frontage.
I have a motion on the floor, approve the variance with the shortage of frontage. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Greg Logan. Okay. Motion passes. So they'll have to get a hold of Kerry, and I believe where they have it, is it a 20-day or a 30-day grace period? to get it?
20-day grace period.
Okay,
Going to be a
Okay.
20-day appeal period, so
Right.
I need to
Right.
write up a decision. So Attorney Correa, I'll be in touch with you because there's going to be some forms that I need signed
Absolutely.
to get so that we can have the council write up the decision and time for the board to sign it. But
Okay.
I'll be in touch.
and don't forget,
within
Attorney
this
Correa,
week.
where it's also the week of Christmas is going to fall right in that 20th. I know certain people aren't around, so it might be a little tight, but I'm just
That's
giving
okay.
you a heads up now.
Thank you very much.
You're
So
welcome.
it will be a little time before we get everything solidified, but I'll be in touch and we'll
Not a
get that all
problem.
done.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you, Wood.
Bye now.
Thank you. Okay, so review, discuss, act of Stonegate Landing request for project change. There's a petitioner here.
The petitioner is not here. I did get another late email, which I included into your last minute package when I did an update, and I can read that
Okay.
into record for you as well.
Sure.
So as you know, they originally were asking for another notice of project change, but then Attorney Mitchell had a couple conversations with them, and since that time, they Mr. Cusson had sent her an email, who then in turn forwarded it to me. Let me see what the date of that is. November 29th at 5:52 p.m. Dear Chairman Karen, I've spoken today to the board's counsel, Attorney Marguerite Mitchell, regarding the applicant's notice of project change dated November 11, 2021. As a result of the conversation, we have decided it's best to withdraw our November 11, 2021 request without prejudice. Thank you, Delphic Associates, Paul E. Cusson.
Okay.
So if you would
That's
like
two.
to make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we accept the letter of withdrawal without precedent from Paul Cousins for Stonegate Landing.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, aye. All of it. That's unanimous. All right. So that's all set.
Can we discuss that for example, for a second? Can you
Sure
tell me
thing.
what's going on with the property, the lot that was sold as a market rate that was supposed to be affordable? Does anybody know?
Yes, so the one that was from quite a few months ago, correct?
Yep.
So it was determined a while ago that there was one, it looked like in the assessor's records that the market rate, and there was I think it was lot 3 and lot 5. Lot 3 was supposed to be an affordable. Lot 5 was a market rate. And at one point, the board made a vote to switch the two. And so, and they did switch it, and both lots were properly sold. So lot 5 then became the affordable, and that was sold as an affordable.
Okay,
And lot 3 was sold as a market rate, and that
Right.
was all set. And everything's okay on that part. But in discussions with Marguerite, we're not quite sure, like, the formality of it was done correctly, if that makes sense. So we're still working on
yes, it
that
does.
part. So the good news is we didn't lose the inventory. The inventory is still
Right.
there, but it's just the formality of the paperwork, for lack of a better term. So we're still
Yep.
working on that part. So I don't have much of an update other than we haven't lost the inventory. That's a good thing.
Right. Well, that's what I was concerned about, obviously.
Right.
And want to make
Yeah.
sure going forward that it just that
It doesn't happen. Yeah.
doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
This developer is notorious for saying he doesn't know
Right.
or didn't understand the rules, and it doesn't happen again.
Yes, and I will say that I have been in close contact with the monitoring agent on this development. So that's been very well too.
Okay.
I've been in close contact with her because there's been another incident where there was an individual who had an affordable unit in there and put it on the market for
Right.
a market rate. And I immediately got in touch with her. And
Right, they can't do that.
she stopped. She got in touch with that real estate agent and said, no, you can't do that. So I'm on it.
Okay, good
You know,
job.
one of the tough things is sometimes we don't realize it until we actually see it hit the market, like on Zillow
Right.
or something. But we are keeping a close eye and just making sure that, all of that. And some of it is too, like in that instance, it's the actual homeowner who forgets.
Yep.
So yeah, and sometimes that happens, I guess, so to speak. Or, I'm trying to, be nice and say they forgot
Sure.
and they're trying to sell it. And
Yep.
and they just need that friendly reminder saying, hey, no, you can't, there's a special way you can only sell that property.
Right.
So, and that's what she did. The monitoring agent reached out to that homeowner and said, sorry, you can't, that's not the route to take. So yes. And I did talk to that monitoring agent extensively about this development and moving forward.
Now, he had to take and sell the land back to the applicant, and then the homeowner had he did all that, right? Already. He had to take them, that lots 3 and 5, sell it back to himself. And then,
Correct. In order to get those building permits.
correct.
Yes. He did
Okay.
follow through with that. And everything. The building commissioner was able to issue the building permits on those. So he was able to prove from the registry that they were deeded back to him. And he completed what he was supposed to do on that matter. And so he's all set on that matter and was able to obtain building permits correctly.
All right. So everybody all set with that one? So we approved, accepted their.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
good to go.
now we got the incorporate applicant's responsibility of legal fees for case review and written decision on application. So you want to give us a little input on that, Carrie?
Sure. So if you recall from last month's discussion, we were trying to figure out a way to obtain the legal fees for written decisions, especially when an applicant gets a denial. And as you may recall through our discussion, I was asked to obtain some examples from other surrounding towns, and which I did. And some of them just provided some language where they signed directly, like on the application, saying, yeah, I agree to the project review fees, also including, I think it was Freetown. I want to say Freetown, which I thought was a pretty simple and easy way to do it. I also understand that I will be responsible for paying the cost of any engineering, architectural, legal, or other consultants deemed necessary by the Zoning Board of Appeals to assist in its consideration of this application pursuant to General Law 4453G, and that failure to timely pay such costs shall constitute grounds for denial of this application. And then I found that some other towns were pretty similar, in that failure of the applicant to pay all review fees shall be grounds for denial of this application. And that was from Somerset. And then there was another one from Berkeley who has an applicant on their fee under their instructions, and they have the fee, just explaining what the fee is. And same thing, all consultant expenses are governed by the procedures set forth in General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53G. All unexpended funds from the escrow account will be released back. And then the applicant signs that. So it's pretty close to what I had explained, I think, last meeting. We used to have a form way back when, long time, years and years and years ago. There used to be a form that was included in the application package that the applicant would have to submit with the application, and it was called the project review consultant fees. And it pretty much said the same thing, that they agreed to, agree to pay all project review fees to outside consultants for review work related to the above mentioned case. And so in your package, last month's package, I created a draft reincorporating that same form. So that way, when that legal bill comes in, and the applicant tries to say, no, I'm not responsible for that. We can say, hey, you signed here's agreeing. That's part of the review and part of the process, so to speak. I was also asked to find out the rate. So the rate is $160 an hour. So the rate, I want to say, it's about 2 to 2.5 hours for the written decision for Attorney Marguerite to get all the information, to review the information, to write it, and then send it off for the board signature. So I'd say 2.5 is probably a stretch. I'd say about 2 for your standard, like tonight's variance. I would say that's a pretty standard 1.5 to 2 hours.
So we raised our fees from really low, which they were real low right from the beginning, to $750 for an applicant, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
I can't remember when that was done, but we
It
did
was
raise
done
the
a couple
fee.
of years ago.
It was a couple years
About
ago.
a couple of years
I
ago.
think it's more than a couple, but
Yeah.
yes, it was several years ago.
And we were way behind on our fees according to other towns after looking through it and realizing, hey, we're still behind. See, I do
Right.
this for a living too. Go to different towns and for developments and stuff, and our fees are really low compared to some of the other towns
Mhm.
by $300-400.
Yeah.
So I feel that I think we should adopt that letter back into the form, even if they initial it. They're entitled to paying up to all legal fees for what it has to wording exactly what you had stated. But I'm not opposed to it. And I think it should be on there as an initial. So to come in front of the board, it'd be the $750. And then going forward, for all the legal aspects that need to be written for the decision is on the applicant's responsibility to pay the attorney.
I think that the question I have is, in hearing what you were saying, Carrie, if I heard it right, and if I was trying to listen to stuff before.
Yeah.
On those examples, it said, or the application will be denied.
Mhm.
And this is, I understand if they have to pay these fees or the application will be denied, but in this case, we're also talking about if the application is denied. So we need to couch that by saying, or if regardless whether the application is approved or denied. With notwithstanding the application's approval or denial is, I think, the way I would word that. Because otherwise the applicant could come back and argue, well, this wasn't approved, and it only says or will be denied. Well, you've already denied it, so I'm not going to pay it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's why I
So-
think notwithstanding approval or denial is the language that should potentially be there. As I said, just to get your thought on that part of it. The other part of it is, and I would add, notwithstanding, and then I would add another sentence of notwithstanding denial, payment shall be made within. And I would
Okay.
put 30 to 30 days from the date of denial, notwithstanding any
Okay.
pending appeal.
Okay.
Now, Carrie, I got another question. We can't just up our fee and
You'd
cover
have
our
to go
expenses.
through a public hearing. So, because it's part of your rules and regulations within your zoning board rules and regulations. So you'd have to have a public hearing to increase your fee. The
Greg,
issue,
the problem with increase, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
The problem with upping the fee is
It
you can
doesn't,
charge them $2,000, and that $2,000 goes into the town's budget. I mean, town's income. It doesn't offset our legal fees.
right.
So
Oh, that's right.
this
I
this
remember that.
way, we're trying to offset the amount that we spend in legal fees, which we can do with
Yeah.
a check from them
Correct.
saying they're going to cover
I
the legal
do,
fees.
I do remember that now. Yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So
and
that's,
to Jonathan's point, the other thing that you want to make sure that the towns are doing is, and it's what they said, it's deemed denied if you do not pay. So in other
yeah.
words, the consequence for not paying an approval is it will be denied.
Deemed denied. Okay. Good point. Paid.
Yeah, so that would have to, in essence, something of, notwithstanding approval, denial, or would be deemed denial if not paid.
Right.
And then so you want to put both in there, and then I'm still suggesting the add-on, notwithstanding a denial, the applicant shall, using that word, the legal word shall,
Yeah.
have no more than 30 days from the date of denial, notwithstanding the test of time for appeal, or regardless of appeal,
Okay.
for such payment to be made
Okay.
in full.
In full. Got it. Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts there.
No, I agree. The problem I see is when somebody's denied it, until they need to use this again, they're not gonna pay it.
That's the issue. That's what we were running into, but at the same
Well, then
time,
it goes to collections.
correct. It
Yeah,
goes
Yeah,
to
and
complaint.
and that's why, and that's why we're putting that time deadline in there, so that we do have an opportunity to take it to collection, or I hate to say, ask council to write a letter of, payment is due kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have a date in there, they can simply argue, well, you never told me when I had to pay it.
Yeah.
So we've got at least we have something to work with.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And there's also, there's also the other issue of, say they go for a building permit. They won't get the sign off from the ZBA because they would have that outstanding bill. So we
Absolutely.
have that repercussion. And I remember years ago, there was one instance where one person was refusing to pay because of the denial, and that form that we used to use, I put a copy in that and I said, you agreed to pay. And as soon as I put that copy in that, I would say within a month, I received a check. So it did work. It did work.
And if somebody really wants the property or wants the approval badly enough, it's going to have teeth in it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. The approval, we never have a problem.
Yeah.
it's really the denial. It's really the denial that we really sometimes have a problem. So,
I do have a question. If they are denied and then they appeal that, how then do they repay again? Or how does that whole fee thing go from that point? Because they're gonna owe, the denial is, they pay, is it like around a little over 1,000, like 1,000? I came up with 1,070.
yeah, so the appeal goes to the Superior Court. So it doesn't come back to the town. So if they get denied and they want to appeal that denial, it doesn't come to the town. It goes to the Superior Court. So they would be paying the Superior Court for the filing fees on that.
I see.
I think what you're getting at, though,
Yeah.
Susan, is that if they go to file the appeal with Superior Court,
Mhm.
I think what you're saying is if they win the appeal and they've already paid the $500 to us for the denial, for example,
Right,
your question is what's going to happen to that $500 or whatever the figure is.
correct,
Are we going to give that back to them, or are we going to say, no, this was the cost of our denial?
correct.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
I think it's a fair question, but go ahead, Peter.
There's legal fees occurred if they appeal.
Right.
If somebody takes it to the Superior Court, they pay the $50 fee that Superior Court charges, but then
Yep.
we have to send town council to represent the ZBA.
Oh. Mhm.
Right.
So that's why you're saying
Yep.
on it.
So that could even
the
accrue
decision
actually,
and all. Yes, it can be a lot more than just
right,
1,070 or whatever you've come
Right.
up with.
right. Well, that was at 2 hours, not 2.5 of
Right.
legal.
Well, when I used to write the decisions, they took me 2 hours, and I was inexperienced. So I'm sure Marguerite does
Yeah.
it with forms and just types in the necessary wording.
Harry, would you be able to come back at our next meeting with the, hopefully what you think is the final draft of the form?
Sure.
Or do you want one of us to work on it with you, or?
Sure. I can draft up on a new one. And then if you want, before our next meeting, I can send out a copy of what I come up with if you guys want to comment on it. And then, provide any input. And then we can go from there if you'd like. And then we'd
That's
be
fine.
ready to act
Okay,
if you want to
All
do
right.
it that way.
I'm for that. If we approve this, once it's done,
Yeah.
do we have to take it to the Board of Selectmen, or does it have to go before
No.
town meeting? Anything?
No, it's just part of our application package.
Okay,
So we don't have, there's no requirement for us to bring it to anyone. It's just for the
Okay.
board to do.
yeah, I'd be open to seeing a final draft, and maybe or maybe not with any comment.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all. So we already took care of that. Any other questions or concerns on that matter?
Mhm.
I don't think so.
Any correspondence?
No, I have no correspondence.
Okay, we're gonna approve the meeting minutes of October 27, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Co-Chair, I will make a motion that we approve the minutes of October 27, 2021 without change.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, Greg Logan. Okay. Now,
Excuse
we're gonna
me.
be going into, Kerry, you're gonna be sending us a new meeting for the executive session.
I just sent it to you now.
Is it the same one from earlier, Carrie?
Yes, I just sent it again.
Okay. And how much time do you want us to give you?
Minutes. I'm gonna give Zach and Marguerite a call to let them know that we're ready.
Okay.
So we just need a motion to go into executive session and not return to regular session.
This is Jonathan. I will make a motion that we go into executive session at this time, end this Zoom meeting, open a new Zoom meeting for executive session, and not return to our public meeting.
I have A motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Greg Logan.
aye.
I'm gonna
Aye.
poll the board, Greg.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You gotta
Jonathan-
poll the board. You ask them
Jonathan-
individually.
You got to poll the vote.
All right, so I have, do I have a motion? Jonathan Gill?
Aye. Jonathan Gale says aye.
Jonathan Gill says aye. Susan?
Susan Pritchard, aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Greg Logan, aye. Okay, everyone, that's fine. So I'll see you guys in a little bit over in the executive session. We'll go from there. This meeting is adjourned.